Oh, maybe not quite now. Oh, now we're on. Live stream, interesting. When it first started, I thought, wow, this is going to curtail exactly what I say and how I say it. But then I thought, well, you know what? Anybody that really tunes in, they're specifically Baker to Vegas folks, and they can either accept the language or not, maybe understand the context or not, but it's them, and we'll go with that. 35 years. Downstairs in my office, and I thought I should have brought it up here, is the shirt from 35 years ago, the T-shirt. Larry Moore and I had worked on this idea, and we thought, oh yeah, we better come up with a commemorative T-shirt for this. So we sat down and figured out what we would use, and it was the actual cup itself that's on the shirt. And it's not very attractive. It isn't. But that was our first year. The following year, we said, oh, that's not a good idea. We got to come up with something different. So we sat with a good friend of ours and tried to develop what we thought would be a good logo for this race. And our friend Kenny Taniguchi, great guy, great businessman. We said, hey, take this to your artist and come up with a snake. And we took it to his artist, and they came back with a dragon. And I said, no, that's not a snake, that's a dragon. And eventually we came back and forth and ended up with what is today the Baker to Vegas race and the logo. And many years have gone by since then, and literally thousands of people and hundreds of coordinators and a lot of great friends. I want to introduce now, and I know most of them have left and aren't here. I don't see Ruben Gonzalez. Where are you, Ruben? Ruben Gonzalez on the LAPRAC Board of Directors is now and will be the race director for this coming year's race. I've worked with Ruben now for the last couple of months on the project of Baker to Vegas. And I know he knows it. I'm not quite sure he knows it altogether yet, what it's going to demand of him, but he's soon going to find out. But the time goes by quick, and the demands are tremendous for what you're doing and why you're doing it and how you're doing it and all that sort of thing. So I welcome him here. Come on up, Ruben.
I'm going to definitely make this a lot quicker than what Chuck's going to make it. I know a lot of you guys want to beat the traffic out. Like I said, Ruben Gonzalez, I am on the board of directors here with LAPRAC, currently a detective out of Southeast. Just thank you all for coming out. I'm going to throw the LAPD teams under the bus here. I saw the email that Chuck put out to us as far as the teams that have paid, and it seems like it's the outsiders that have all paid. So LAPD, get that money in. Other than that, again, thank you for coming out. My goal is to be very transparent with you guys as far as the rules committee. One of my duties is also I'm on the rules committee. I'm the rules chair. So if you guys get hit with some kind of penalty or something out there, I am available. As soon as I get out to Vegas, I'm usually out there Wednesday night. Shoot me a text. My contact info is on the Baker to Vegas website. Follow the normal procedures, and if you don't feel you're getting heard in the right manner, shoot me a text. We'll meet up at the Westgate and we'll discuss this. Other than that, that's all I have. Have a safe race. And also, for those of you that don't know, this is Chuck Foot's last Baker to Vegas. So let's try to make this easy on him this year.
Let me clarify that just a little bit now. Not last, like, never to be seen again type of thing. Not quite the situation, but close. 35 years, unquestionably fun all the time. A little bit tough maybe near the end when work gets to be 24/7, but still fun. I wouldn't do this if it wasn't fun. So let me put it that way. The rest of the Rules Committee, Frank Rauman from Burbank, Rogelio Maldonado from LA County DA's office, Andrew Lee, and I have to tell you, Andrew drove in today from his home in Flagstaff, Arizona. to come here. So I really want to thank folks that are that dedicated to make a drive that far to come down here and participate in what we do at the Rules Committee. Kathy Meek. Kathy Meek is in charge of our, captain in charge of Emergency Operations Division, who is constantly busy. She came in today, could only stay for a short while and left. I said, boy, you got your hands full doing this and doing Baker to Vegas as well. Dave Miklos is retired from LA County Sheriff's. Pat Larrigan, who I depend on so vitally for her efforts, retired from Glendale, and myself. What I want to introduce now is the person who for the last 20 years has worked with me and with Larry before that on Baker to Vegas, as familiar with the race as can be in that period of time, is going to take over as the race coordinator for 2020. I said I would help him, and I do mean to help him when that begins. But Tony Adler has been a good friend for 30 years on the LAPD for that period of time, and just recently retired. I said, you really can't do this, Tony, and do the work at the same time. You have to retire. Well, that wasn't tough. Even in the middle of drop, he still said, that's a deal, I'm leaving. And he's found out that being retired is a pretty wonderful life. This might interrupt it a little bit, but it's still a wonderful life to be retired. This is Tony back here. Raise your hand, Tony. I told him he has to sharpen up on his printing because other folks in the office have to be able to read his bit of a scribble. And then he's going to have to really prepare himself to be heard and understood with all of you because he's got just a tiny accent. Our volunteer coordinators, the same as we've had in the years past, I really do depend on each one of those individuals to coordinate the groups of people they bring with them. Joy Matlack, Margie Hoffman, who's right here, Jeff Lee, those three right there coordinate the amateur ham operation to this race. A vital portion of what we do in both coordinating all of the frequencies used and in making sure we have one solid communications format. Should all things go wrong, amateur ham radio or ham radio is operational and works. Our medical radio net is a combination of two people, Peter Benjamins and Ruzi, and those two coordinate our medical radio network, a 911 system in a can. We take it out to the race course and make it operational. Our light towers, these are two wonderful folks that are retired. And when they moved, they said they weren't going to be able to do this anymore. And I cried some alligator tears and they stuck around. This is Aida and Matt Kukowitz, who handle our light tower coordination. In a little while, I'll talk about a change in our operation and it affects light towers. Our medical team of Dr. Troy Pennington and Robert Seabreeze. And I'll talk about a little bit later here just how vital those two individuals were in last year's race. Our motors, Larry Wehedge, our RV support, Lisa Villa, and our RVs, you gotta love those folks. How many here own an RV? Then you know what it means to sink a couple $100,000 into an RV. And they take them out there and they plant themselves into the conditions they would normally never take their vehicle. The dirt, the sand, the wind, and all of that, and they do that for us. They're wonderful folks. Barbara Ginn, who handles our awards, and Marie back here, that handles our entry fees, are two ladies in the LAPRAC staff that have been working around me for the better part of those 30 years. And I've gotten to know them and their families and all of that over that whole period of time. And they're really wonderful folks. They don't just do this because it's their job here at LAPRAC to do that. They take a lot more time and energy into keeping this coordinated. And Tony and I as I was showing Tony, how difficult it sometimes is when you send in your entry fee check and there's nothing with it. No corresponding information, no team name, no number, just a check. And it's from a tow company in Nebraska. And I'm trying to figure out, well, who is this? Can't read his signature, nothing on it. I'm looking at a postmark. That's the only information I have. So sometimes it can be really tough figuring out who you are. Our guests today in this room are the sponsors of the race and come here to show you what they can do. And let me start right here with Mobile Radio Associates with Mark Abrams and Joyce Peters. So you can take a look at their radio information. Next to them is our Lap Rack store. And they have items today from last year's race on sale. And I'm assuming at the next meeting we'll have Baker to Vegas items for this year. Am I right, Debbie? I think that was yes. Run to Remember, a half marathon 10K in Los Angeles, Sunday, April the 7th. So right after Baker to Vegas is over, and if you can find your way back to Los Angeles, you can enter this event. They're here today, right here, Mark. Next to them is our National Life Group, and again, they have their raffle today, fill out your raffle ticket. They're into fundraising barbecues. They've raised thousands of dollars for different teams. If you're in need of fundraising, then please stop by, get his card, talk to him. Now, if you're lucky and you have one sponsor gives you a check for $10,000 and you don't have to do anything, well, consider yourself lucky and you don't have to do that. But if I find you standing in front of Southwest Station selling donuts because that's the only thing you have, well, then you're in bad shape. You'll never make it. Here from Omni Communications, good friend Karen Weisenhunt, and her marketing director, Anne Marie White. Raise your hand, Karen. Where are you? Oh, there we are, right here. Okay. Again, radio communications, very important to the race. Don't go out there without nothing whatsoever. You're going to find yourself wanting to find out how your team is doing, and there'll be no way to know. Now, a quick review of 2018. Put things in perspective for you. 275 teams last year. That was one more than 2017, where we had 274. So it was easy to squeeze in one more team. This time around, I would estimate we're going to be squeezing in 10 more teams. Each team means about 50 people. Each team means about that many vehicles. Pretty soon you can see how congested it could get out there. We had international teams from the RCMP, from Calgary Police Service, and from the Belize National Police. And Belize came very close, very close. If you watched the race last year, if you were into it at all, you know at the end of about 7 or 8 stages, they had a lead. And if you're into a good battle, it probably was a great battle. But they fell a little short, and I know they want to come back and try to do better. So Belize was here. I have not made an appointment, but I soon will with the California Highway Patrol and the commanding officer of the Barstow Station. The most affected station out there is that Barstow office. We'll impact that with the vehicles going to Las Vegas and with the vehicles coming back home. But in addition to those individuals, Nye County Sheriffs, the Nevada Highway Patrol, and Las Vegas Metro Police, those are the agencies that we travel through, both in getting to the race and getting back home and the race itself. Well over 100 of those personnel are contract rented officers that we pay for. So we're inside of a corridor in Las Vegas, and It's about a contingent of about 70 officers to ensure that we're able to run that race safely and without stopping. Very important to do. I asked Tony to sit down and let's go over the rule violations from last year to see, one, what stands out? What are we doing different? What are teams doing wrong that we can try to correct? And there's still a few teams that don't have a catcher. Your job here, not mine, is to coordinate your team. The better coordinated you are, the quicker you'll make it through this race course, the less confusion there is, the less lost people that exist. All happens because you knuckle down and you really put your work into coordinating your team. Making assignments, making sure they're done, but coordinating your team. Well, a few teams just slipped up in their catcher assignment. So here comes a runner and no catcher. Notations are made by the personnel that are at the exchange point, and you get a penalty. Your catcher shows up half an hour later and the race has already gone by. And they haven't figured out what their job is. So again, your function is to tell everybody what is your job and be on time, be early. One team for failure to follow instructions. I found that one interesting. I haven't looked back to see who was it and what happened, but failure to follow instructions. Put it in your terms. That's somebody on your team giving one of our individuals a hard time. That's failure to follow instructions. And we don't tolerate that. You don't tolerate it in your situation, we don't tolerate it in ours. So if you've got somebody in your squad that's just a little bit short-tempered or can't take it, leave them home. Give them a different job. But interacting with our personnel out there, we don't allow anyone to do that. Here's a violation I found interesting. 12 downed runners. That was all we had. 23 the previous year. Much more than that the year before that. All came down to preparation and, of course, great weather conditions. I can't guarantee you what the weather conditions will be. Those were ideal last year. Whether that can happen again or not, I don't know. But only 12 downed runners, that's remarkable. There's only one rule violation in here that was reported for failure to respond to the FRS radio. Only one. Well, that's because we didn't enforce that, not because there weren't more than that. There are a great many teams out there because I come in behind you in the vehicle I'm in. You're doing something wrong and I'm trying to talk to you on your FRS radio and you're not responding. So finally I have to pull up alongside of you and yell at you. Then you respond. So I know there's more than that, more than just one, but we reported one for failure to listen to that FRS radio. Very critical. So your instructions, again, to your team and to your follow vehicle and to the driver of the follow vehicle is turn it on and listen to it. Yeah, it's going to be a long, slow 4 or 5 hours in that follow vehicle and listening to other people's chatter, but listen to the FRS radio. Now I want to talk just a minute here and give you the straight answer on the one very serious injury we had of last year. This was a Manhattan Beach officer. One team out of 275 in this race. I'm trying to think what the defibrillator is called. AED? Is that right? Okay. They had that unit in their vehicle. How many of you had an AED unit in your vehicle, in your follow vehicle? Anybody? I doubt it. One team had it. Their runner comes in, okay. Their runner comes into the exchange, maybe 60, 70 yards before they're going to hand off. And for whatever reason, I know in my own mind, I think I know why, but for whatever reason, the person then has the heart attack. Hits that asphalt face first. Is dead, folks. When he hits that ground, he is dead. Not alive, because there's no heartbeat and no respiration. He is alive today because of great preparation of the exchange point and his own team. First of all, to even have an AED unit in that vehicle. He hits the ground, and running to him are the medical personnel at the exchange. Roll him over. They know right then and there is no heartbeat and there's no respiration. CPR. The follow vehicle personnel get out of their car, go back, get that AED unit and put it on him. I did not know this much about those units, but apparently it reads the heart rate, or in this case, no heart rate, applies the proper electrical shock, brings them back. Just like that. And we're talking about in minutes that this occurred. Had it happened a mile down the road, maybe not so lucky, but happened right at the exchange point. Scooped up, put in an ambulance, taken to the helicopter. I am in the command post watching this activity happen. In the follow vehicle is his spouse. Now, put yourself in that situation now. The spouse is in the follow vehicle, sees this happen. Comes into the command post. Helicopter is ready to take this person to the hospital, shuts down. There can only be one reason why you would take a helicopter, get it ready, and then shut it down. And I don't have to draw a picture for you. Dr. Pennington and his staff of people are at that particular location treating that individual. Well, he had had another heart attack right then and there on the ground before they could load him in the helicopter. Put him in the helicopter, fly him to Las Vegas. That's about a 45-minute flight. Get him there. I'm thinking, okay, they're going to do open heart surgery. They're going to do all of this. No, they put 2 stents in his heart and let him go on Wednesday. The guy is alive today. Through all of that, he's alive today. And what a stroke of a lot of luck, perhaps, that it happened quite where it did. For a vehicle to have that AED unit, I thought was, I'm still baffled a little bit by how and why, but I did get a pretty good explanation from the individuals in that follow car why they had that unit in their car in the first place. It is not an inexpensive piece of equipment. If you went back to your police station and you said, you're going to take the one on the wall right there and you're going to take it with you, would they let you do it? I doubt it. You know, so putting those and making that mandatory equipment for every single follow vehicle, probably just not practical. It's about $1,000 to purchase one. But again, through all of the preparation made for the race, in the medical aspect of this race, and in the communications ability of this race, the person is alive today. So that is what happened last year. And I have to tell you, when it happened, it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm pretty much figuring, okay, whatever medical problems we've had, they're over with now. It's going to be night. It's going to be cool. That's not going to happen. Well, that certainly got me right back. If I was even sleepy at all, I wasn't sleepy after that for a long time. So that was last year's event. But preparation is everything. Be prepared. Do everything you can to have your team prepared. To the rest of our operation of the race, the RV support, again, worked our race, handled our bib numbers, handled that part of the event of putting the equipment out. They have a very good person involved in their event and their crew that does our inventory. In the next few weeks, we'll go back and take an inventory of the equipment. What did we get? What did we get back? What did we lose? What did we break? What came back that's not ours? Every year something comes back and it's not ours. In my office is, I think, 3 FRS radios and somebody's Kojak light. No one's ever claimed them. So they're sitting there, and we'll use what we can, and the Kojak light we'll just keep as a backup for somebody that breaks theirs or loses it. The motor support squad, a tough assignment. And what I didn't ask our coordinator the other day when I was speaking to them is, when do these people come in and where do they come from? I see them at Baker School on their motors at about 5:30 in the morning when I'm there. And they look like they're all bundled up. They've driven from wherever to get there, and now they're going out on the race course. And they're gonna work all day, some into the night, and then they're gonna go home, wherever home is, on their motorcycle. A tough assignment. Not like you in your comfortable car. They're out there having bugs smacked at them. So, tough job. Again, our ham communications, about 330 personnel. Huge squad. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment that they bring out there. And I believe it's the South Bay hams that bring out a truck, a box truck with all of their equipment in it. They put a camera at a mile warning so that we're not making any noise at stage 18. All of this in an effort to help us. Tremendous crew. Ham Safety Patrol, a squad of about 20 personnel whose assignment it is to look for downed runners. That's their job, Ham Safety Patrol. And we put them out every year just to be sure. Last year was our best weather year and they weren't busy at all. And hopefully we have that again. Medical communications. Today we have our dispatchers here from Riverside County Sheriffs. And we put out the best medical communications a person can have out there where none exists. And that's hard for most folks to understand, that there is no 911 system out there on our race course. Yes, in the town of Pahrump, if you dialed 911, you'd get the Nye County Sheriffs. And if you dial 911 in Las Vegas, you're going to get Las Vegas Metro Police. But on the race course, at the start line, if you dial 911, you're going to get nothing but a blank number. So we bring this out here to provide us the ability to make those kind of communications possible. Your volunteer officers, well over 100, in this case, 275 of those volunteer officers. OICs, specialized functions, a great group of people. And last year I had no reports of anybody being lazy, sitting in their car and not willing to work. So when you make your assignment, be sure you're giving me somebody that is going to work. Also, I got one, let's not call it completely a complaint, but whoever worked at a water station was dropped off by their team, no vehicle, no chair, no lunch, no water, no nothing. Told that's their job, be there. And there they are. And now they become a problem, so to speak, of the RV support that is working that location. Last runner goes by and they tell the RV support, well, I think our team is going to pick me up. I think, maybe. But if not, I need to get a ride up the race course to such and such a stage. Now they become a burden to the RV support because they feel sorry for them. Personally, I'd leave them right there. Say, hey, see those cars? Thumb a ride. But that's not what happened. So be sure that if you're giving your volunteer the job, that they understand what it is. They read the instructions. I went back to take a look at what did we send this person? We sent them these instructions. They just didn't read them. And now again, they become a burden. Race timing last year was a manual operation. I've spoken to Dan Whitten, our timer, and we're going to switch from manual to a chip time. And we're going to go from a metal baton to a plastic baton. You may not recognize that difference, but that's what we're going to do. And that plastic baton gives us the ability to put a chip inside the baton and have it function. So we're going to go over to chip timing instead of that. We'll see if that's faster. Online registration. I looked at my email this morning and someone sent me a message that says, hey, what's our password? And I'd say, wow, you're way early here, kiddo. You don't need that yet. You will not get your password for the online registration until January. By January, you should know who's on your team. You might not know their order of run. That's not really important. But you'll know at least who those 20 runners are by January. So you're not going to get that password until then. Our host hotel, the Westgate Hotel. We will be at the Westgate Hotel this year, 2019. All right. It moves to the Rio Hotel in 2020. So again, we'll be at the Westgate. On the website, on hotel accommodations, you'll see it there now. We sold out last year, Ruben, when? The early bird date right now is January the 14th. So I'm sure Ruben's probably pretty accurate. If we sell out of the room block, it'll be between now and prior to the 14th of January. So again, get that to your team, get your accommodations. Once the room block is sold out, this is March Madness. We can't help that. So there will be certainly a lot of people in Las Vegas at that particular time, so hotel rooms become a premium. If you intend to use the Baker to Vegas trademark, if you intend to use that in some fashion for your item, it's a very simple thing to fill out. It's on the website. The trademark agreement is there. Complete that. Send whatever drawing you're going to use to the general manager, to Ruben Crane, and he'll get back to you with your answer. In the minutes here is some explanation of preparation for the race, what to do. And every year we go about this race, I simply have to ask you a pretty basic question. What is your goal? How many of you want to win your category and come up on stage? Nobody? Oh, a few of you, okay. Well, that's a lofty goal. Only 3 teams per category come up on the stage. So to win the category, or to be in that top 3, you go back, you look at the statistics, and you see if you have a chance. If the top 3 are running under 7 minutes a mile, then you have to ask yourself, do you have 20 people who can do that? Or do you have 16 that can and 4 that are true turtles? What's your situation? What is your goal? How many want to win a mug? Don't break it then, please. You know, I get an email every now and then from someone that has broken their mug and they want to know if I have a replacement for a mug from 2012. And I have to say, nope, sorry, don't have that. So if you want to win a mug, the same thing. 50% of a category are going to get that. So figure out what is your goal. And then how do you get there? How many are so flush with money that money's not a problem? No? I get a call every now and then from a team that wants to run in the race, and Boise PD wants to run in the race. They haven't done it in years. And the first question I had for them is, you know how much money it's going to cost you? $7,000, $8,000? Do you have the access to that kind of money? If you do, then you've got a pretty good chance to do this. Finding the runners might be a little tough, but you just can't find the money that easily. I asked a question to our friends here from Queensland, Australia. What does it cost you to run in this race? Each one of those individuals coming from Australia who has to buy the airline ticket, pay for the hotel. Now, once they get here, it's like turning a cockroach free. Wow, this is the United States. I want to see everything, all in 2 days. And he goes, oh, well, that's not possible. But here they are, and they're spending thousands of dollars to get here. You'll still spend, even the ones that are local here, it'll still cost you a budget of $5,000 or $6,000 to accomplish this. So money's a problem, I'm sure, right along with all the other aspects of the race. Taking a look at last year's results and mistakes. And I was telling Tony that one of the mistakes made in last year's race was mine. I made the mistake. I believed you. That was a mistake. I thought you knew what you were doing, and you didn't. And so therefore, your time, your estimated time you gave me was drastically wrong. And because it was wrong, it caused a problem, a ripple in the whole race. And so that part of things, as I was telling Tony, when it comes to a new team or even an established team, when it comes time for you to determine how fast can you run this race, well, the things you have to do, as difficult and as hard as it is to do, you have to have a time trial. You have to run your people in some way, shape, or form to determine just what can they do. And from that, you can make a much better educated guess as to the time on the race course without problems, flat tires, down runners, all of that sort of thing. Mail in your entry fee in. Now, a good many of you have already paid. I'll get from Marie today the report on how many of you paid today. 157 had paid up till today, so we're in pretty good shape payment-wise. Don't send in your check, for those that are listening and those that are here, don't send in your check United Parcel. Don't put it in special delivery. When you do that, the person who goes down to the mailbox to pick things up has to stand in line over there that says, pick up a package. And it's your check. And the other day I looked at one of those and it cost the person $25 to send the check here from Riverside. Special delivery. Why you waste that? Cost you 47 cents to put it in the mail. I will tell you though, there is a problem with the mail. The problem is the date you tell me you sent it and the date it arrives. Beverly Hills Police Department wanted to run this race, tried very hard, sent in their entry fee 2 weeks ago. It arrived yesterday. Took them 2 weeks to go from Beverly Hills to here. Somewheres in there is not the truth. But anyway, that length of time made them concerned and worried, and it concerned me a bit that maybe that check didn't make it here. Stop payment. You're not going to run anyway, stop payment on the check. It arrives, we'll just throw it away. Well, it finally came in. Is there an FBI team here? Oh, I talk about them then. The FBI, Los Angeles FBI, great big beautiful building on Wilshire Boulevard, sends in their entry fee check and wonders why it never arrives. I say, no, never arrived. They finally look into it and someone stole the check. Cashed the check. I said, they cashed an FBI check and stole your check. Now that's funny. Not funny, but funny. I said, I hope you're investigating this. I hope you find the criminal. But someone had done that, and that was remarkable. Yeah, people send in the checks, and I try to make sure that you're aware that you've paid your entry fee. Tomorrow I will send you a list, and it's a cross-reference list, a very simple list. Look at it. 1, what is your team number? If it's a 4-digit number, you haven't paid your entry fee. If the 4-digit is 1012, your team number is 12. Not 1012, your team number is 12. 1012 simply means you haven't paid the entry fee yet. So the 4-digit numbers are unpaid entry fees. Everybody else, if you see that on that list, has paid their entry fee. That's your team number. I ask you, please use it when you email, when you make reference to anything, use the team number. So I'm not just looking up somebody named John, trying to figure out who is that. Right now we have what I estimate to be 291 teams. We'll take 4 more to make it 295 and stop. Waiting for the slide backwards. And there's at least one team that has notified me that they're 90% sure they're not going to make it. So I'll wait a few more days and find out if that other 10% is rolled in for them or what's happening. So we'll stand by at 295 and wait for the shrinkage to come down to about 285. And that's probably where it'll end up. On the website today is a rule book for 2019. Look at it. You want to download it and read it? You can do that too. But look at the rule book for 2019. 2 changes that immediately jumped out at me when I looked at the rule book again. The first one is a request from the timing operation to have a reflective number, team number now, on your follow vehicle on the passenger side of the vehicle. In talking to Andrew Lee and other folks this morning, trying to determine exactly how do we say that, how do we inspect it, how do we look for it? What to tell you? Well, it depends on your follow vehicle. What are you using? But that number has to be visible. When you pass by the exchange point, the number must be visible to the timing people who are sitting right at the exchange. If they've missed your team number or they can't read your runner's number coming through, they're going to look at that follow vehicle. So that's where your reflective number must also be. So you're looking at 2 reflective numbers on your follow vehicle. 1, the right rear window of the follow vehicle. The second one now on the passenger side of the vehicle. One team, I want to guess about 2 years ago, had the best follow vehicle team number I'd ever seen. Lit up, it was beautiful. When I finally contacted him, I said, wow, that is a fantastic way of doing that. How'd you do it? He explained it to me. I contacted the company and they said, yeah, we do this, a few $100s each. I said, oh, well, it's a good idea, can't work. He took his mousetrap idea and tried to sell it to the airports, and he's probably a millionaire today. Because all those vehicles you see drive around on a tarmac, he was going to put a number on the top. You could read that number from space. It was so good. Cutoff date for the race, January the 1st, 2019. Have you hired someone prior to that date? They're in the academy. That's up to you. Years ago, training division allowed personnel to run who were recruits in the academy. That's up to LAPD and the captain of that division to make that call. So if you've hired someone and they're in your academy and you want to use them, as long as you've hired them prior to January the 1st, 2019, they're capable of being on your team. Transfer date. In today's LA Times, as I'm whistling through the paper, big article, LAPD. Chief Moore, I am transferring 200 personnel effective first part of the year. Well, effective is DP1. DP1, 200 LAPD personnel are going to pack up their bags and go somewhere else. Our race is effective deployment period 13, LAPD. If I asked you for a roster of your LAPD personnel, it would be of deployment period 13. The date, 12/23/18. Who is in your station, your division, as of that date? Invitational categories. I was showing Tony yesterday that on our system is the ability to look for the word or the letter N, non-sworn personnel. All invitational categories must have 2 non-sworn runners, not just people helping, but runners on your team to qualify for the invitational categories, of which there's about 5 or 6. Taking a look at the number of categories of last year and how many teams were in them. Some stand out as huge. Invitational, mixed, invitational, these are huge categories. 30s, 40s numbers of teams in them. Then we get down to invitational station, 3 teams. Invitational 800, 4 teams. I said, what happened? Now, most of you would look at a category and say, if you can fit in that category, you might win. You can fit in that category, you might get a mug. It was there, it didn't happen. I can tell you now, as we start to take in the information on the number of teams per category, if there aren't at least 6 teams in those categories, then we're going to eliminate those categories. So they're in the endangered species list. Invitational station, invitational 800. So if that's you, you best start looking for more people to join you or where you're going to fit otherwise. A new wrinkle. Last couple of years, we've had 9 start times. I've spoken to a great many people about the subject, and I'm almost 100% sure this is what we're going to do. There will be a 10th starting time. We'll start at 0800 and we'll go on the hour until 1700. At 1700, we'll only run the fastest teams in this race. That is, teams that can break 15 hours. So even those that run 15-15 and 15-18 and 20 will not run at 1700. So they must be able to run under 15 hours to run at 1700. I estimate that to be about 20 teams. They'll be the fastest, and they'll be bringing up the tail of the show. So we're going to go to 10 starting times. Impacts lots of people. Here's where it affects you the most. Who's your volunteer? I get a great many volunteer reports that ask for, I want to be at the start line. I want to be in the daytime. Yeah, you can be. If you paid your entry fee early enough, you might get your choice, but you're going to work longer. But that's your choice. But it impacts motors, impacts our hams, impacts RVs, it impacts everyone to be there that hour longer. But in order to accommodate this number of teams over this period of time, we need to expand, and we're going to do that. So 10 starting times. Sort of a sidelight of it all is going to be the need for 2 additional light tower drivers. So as you're going through your list of possible volunteers, you might say, hey, is there somebody in your group that wants to be a light tower driver? Because we're going to need to bring a light tower to stage 5 and to stage 6, where we did not have them in the past. So we're going to have to bring them out there because evening hours, daylight, we're going to lose it about 7 o'clock. About 1900, we will lose the daylight. And those 5 o'clock starting teams won't reach those stages until right about that hour. Short of those two team categories, everything else category-wise remains the same. So if you know now what category you want to run in, send it to me. Go on the website, complete the form, send it in. Open 800, whatever it is you want to run. If you know in advance that's what you want to do, and you will start to see that populate in the cross-reference list, and it'll start to tell you what categories these folks are going to run in. The running baton. And hopefully, last year was probably our most number of people we've ever had listed on the baton in to watch. If that's occurred in your agency or your team in the year's time between now or between the end of last year race and today, then send that information to me and we'll start to gather that information. It's placed in a couple of different places. The running baton with that person's name and their serial number, their call sign, some significant number attached to their name. That's one location. The bib number allows you to place a person's photograph. If you want a photograph on that bib number, that's your bib number, then that's possible to do. If you've had multiple people, then that possibility becomes still doable, but it does require you to do some work on a Photoshop to be able to put two people's photograph into one JPEG file and send that to me. You send me two individual photographs and expect it to go on the bib number, I'm going to send it right back to you and say, I can't do that. Don't have that capability. So it's going to take some work on your part if you've had multiple officers pass away in that year's time. The next operation is at the award ceremony. And as a portion of the award ceremony on the fly screens will be those persons' photographs. And that information you send to me, I'm going to send it right to the general manager. He's going to forward it to another individual and they'll put a package together for that show. Again, we're going to place the timing chip inside the baton. And I've spoken to the guy that is going to do this, and I'll have to see a little bit of a demonstration to believe that you can just stick it in that baton and it doesn't fall out, but we'll see. Team composition. This affects those that are multiple agency teams, more so than robbery, homicide, or central, or somebody else. But if you're a multiple agency team, let's be sure that your team name indicates that. 4 agencies, a little tough to squeeze it all in. And I know I put that in for one of the teams and ended up being just letters. You'd know what it meant. Nobody else would. I know NCIS wanted just that on their team, NCIS. I said, well, I guess it makes good if people watch television and know what that is. Otherwise, it'd be nice to say, who is NCIS? Retired personnel, besides Tony, myself. I don't know how many any others in here who are retired, but certainly you're eligible to run. Eligibility to run is a question we get. I forward it off to the Rules Committee. Sometimes they're easy to answer questions. Full-time personnel, full-time paid personnel. The only exception to full-time paid personnel are reserves, who are not full-time paid personnel, but are personnel attached to your department, agency, station, what have you. Okay? Part-time people, sorry, they're not eligible. Even those that are more than just part-time are still not eligible. So be sure we're talking about full-time paid personnel, whether they're sworn or non-sworn. Your choice. Race Communications Seminar, December the 5th, the next team captains meeting. I'll put that out to you. If you want to come in and listen to an explanation of what works and what doesn't and how it works, what does it cost, all of that, then come to the seminar. And a team sent me a question the other day and said, hey, we'd like to perhaps bring out our own communication system. Can we put a repeater in different places? I said, that depends where you want to put it. You can't just walk out to the desert and plant a repeater. While that may be, possible to do, you can't leave it there unabandoned. You leave any piece of equipment out there without supervising it, and you may not think there aren't any people out there, but the next time you come back from lunch, it's gone. And you'll wonder what happened. So don't leave equipment out there abandoned. But I'll get back to you in the minutes with, again, December 5th seminar. If you want to come to that, then I'm going to ask you to RSVP. How many? So we have some idea of how big a room we need to set up. I have at least one race Downey PD sent me, a 5K they're trying to put on as a fundraiser and as a memorial. I said, fine, send it to me. I asked Dan Whitten to send me, or get me anyway, as soon as possible, what's the mug series? Where are the LA County Sheriffs going to put on their mug runs they do every year? What stations are going to do it and what's the dates? If you're going to put on an event, send it to me. I'll forward it to all the teams. Have we filled out the form? Got them all turned in? That's a yes. How about it, Javier?